I stopped going to college. I went all in, tried to figure out different ways to make money. Crypto, Airbnbs, and I ran across houses and I was doing driving for dollars, found a house. I was actually doing a fix and flip with my dad. Cool. We knocked out that deal, but I ran across a podcast talking about land with Brent Daniels. And I was like, this seems so much easier.
What's up, everybody? Mason McDonald and Dan Haberkost with another episode of the Big Picture Blueprint, where we have the pleasure of interviewing an investor that's been at it for a couple years, but has already built a $500,000 business in what really is one of the most simple ways possible. And so anytime that you can explain something easily like you can to a child, that's how I like things explained. And I think our guest today did a really great job going through his business. But Dan, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I had fun with this interview. We had Chris Ramirez on the show, and I know Chris because I helped him get started in the business. I think it was in 22, and he had tried to flip and wholesale houses like many people that do that. It was a slog, and he discovered land, I think he said on Brent Daniels' podcast, who we actually have also had on the show, and jumped right in. He started doing simple flips all over California where he's based. He ended up again, working with me a bit and to really learn the business, and he's taken it and run with it. I really wanted to have him on the show because I didn't realize this when he initially reached out to me, but he's now, I think, 23 and he was 20 at the time. So he started very young and has built quite the profitable business, buying and selling land all over Arizona and California primarily. And following his Instagram series of the road to making $500,000 was pretty cool. He got close, but not quite there, but still very good in the 400s of profit for 2025. So in this episode, we break down in simplicity how he's getting deals, how he's funding them, how he's dispoing them, what markets he's in, what he's seeing, and where he's trying to take the business. And what I really liked about Chris, to what you said, is he explains it so simply. I think it's simple, but quite informative. So let's bring him in. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, man, it's been really cool to see what you've been able to build over the last several years. It's not often that we interview people younger than us, and you're significantly younger, and what you've done is pretty cool. So for anyone that doesn't know who you are, give a brief background in your experience, how you got into land, and what you've been doing.
Yeah, actually, I started this industry, I believe in 2022, 23, within that range, about 3 years ago. I actually learned from you, Dan. You was my first ever mentor. When I started, I didn't know anything regarding this industry at all. Went from houses straight to land. And ever since that, I've been crushing it.
Yeah. So what did that look like? Give us a little more detail when you talk about houses. Were you flipping houses, wholesaling houses? What's the background? How did you even get into real estate in the first place?
Well, first of all, my whole life when I grew up, I played baseball from 4 all the way up to 19 years old. And that was COVID year. I went to college, 2020. I couldn't play baseball. And I knew college, I didn't really want to do it. So I stopped going to college. I went all in, tried to figure out different ways to make money. Crypto, Airbnbs, name it all. Everything I've done it, shoes, all that. And I ran across houses, wholesaling houses. And I was doing driving for dollars, found a house. I was actually doing a fix and flip with my dad. Found one, cool. We knocked out that deal. But I ran across a podcast talking about land with Brent Daniels, and I was like, this seems so much easier. I don't have to deal with the headache with tenants, repairs, all that good stuff that people usually don't want to do. I didn't have to deal with that now because I found land. So after that, I was like, I'm going to stop worrying about doing driving for dollars, trying to get leads with houses. I'm going to go all in with land. And that's how I started.
Yeah, that's a similar path a lot of people follow, where you almost don't believe it, how easy land can be. In some ways, it has its own challenges. But okay, so you decided on land. What did those first few deals look like? I mean, did you start calling people, mailing, texting? How did you approach it?
Yeah. First year, I focused purely on mail. And my first deal, I probably spent about 1,500 in mailers, 3,000 mailers. I got 2 deals from it, 2 infill lots in Paradise, California. That probably produced me about 15,000. But mind you, at this time, I was working my full-time job. I used to work at a Dollar Tree warehouse job. And I closed that first deal. I was so excited. I quit my job the day after. The day after, I went up. I knew it worked. After that, I was like, I knew it worked. I live with my parents. I got no bills. Might as well go all in.
Yeah. And what age were you at that point?
I believe 20.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So first land deal at 20, left the job. You were doing deals in California. You're based in Southern California. Where did you go from there? Because to today, looking at your Instagram, your posts, you're doing much bigger deals. You're doing a lot of transactions in some of the lesser talked about states. So talk about the evolution from those simple infill lots with mail to what you're actually doing today and what an average deal looks like now.
Yeah. So, well, my first year, I focused purely on infill lots, learned everything through you. I did infill with mailing. I did great, did over 6 figures the first year. Second year, I was like, dang, I see so many people killing it with the recreational. I want to learn that game. Okay. It looks like there's bigger spreads there. Let me figure out how to work that. So I hired someone else. I learned how to do recreational the entire year. I did mail as well for that. I doubled my investment that year as well. From there, I moved on to texting. So I moved from different things from infill, recreational, both mail. And then I was hearing about texting. I was like, cool, let me try out texting. I feel like I'd probably do better with that because I'm actually able to create the conversation, give out offers, take a look at the properties, and give more accurate offers. So that's when I converted into texting. I start off with 20,000 messages per month. And my strategy is nothing crazy. And my main goal is to control my inputs. If I know if I'm supposed to send out 20,000 per month, I got to make sure I'm sending out 1,000 every Monday through Friday, respond to all my sellers. I got to make sure I follow up and make sure I get on the phone to close deals. That's my main goal. I don't do nothing crazy. I attack deals that are selling for 20K or more. I don't care if it's recreational, infill, commercial. I don't care what it is. As long as I know I can get it at a discounted price.
I love the simplicity of the approach. Dan and I have been doing business pretty much the same way for five some odd years now. And people are like, oh, it's crazy you're not doing this, that, and the other thing. It's like, well, it's crazy that we're still in business and, some of these people aren't. So you having that simple approach is really fantastic. But to add a layer of complexity, because I see it too I'm like, dude, is he buying land in like Virginia and Hawaii and like Louisiana and like all over the country? And one of the biggest killers of deals is not understanding the market that you're operating in. So whenever you are initially doing market research, what are some of the indicators that you're looking at to say, hey, I want to do a land deal in this particular state or county or city or zip code or whatever it might be?
Yeah, like I said, I keep it as simple as possible. What I do, I purely focus on 1 or 2 states. So for instance, my 2 states, California, Arizona. That's the 2 states I just focus in. And I don't care how big the lot is. I don't care how small the lot is. When it comes to market research, I don't care about sell-through rate, none of that. Because I'm just looking to find a motivated seller. I don't overcomplicate it with all that. So what I do, I go on LandWatch, look at all the counties that California has, and I just pull it. As long as it's not a major city like a Sacramento and all that, I'm not going to attack areas like that. As long as it's more in the outskirts, I'll attack it. That's all. I don't do anything crazy.
Okay, interesting. Because in this business, like I feel like there's some of us that, like, if you were to define it is this a product business or is this a service business? It feels like you're leaning more into the service business, focusing on what seems like, and when you say motivated, I'm interested in if you have any internal metrics of how you define that of like, does that mean distressed? Like they're back on taxes, like they're trying to sell as quickly as possible, or they just are more apathetic? And you're providing the service of offloading their land for them.
Yeah, same thing, same process. I'll probably say about 70% of my deals are novations. Okay. So I'm getting them under contract, list them with a realtor because I'm getting at a higher price point, usually around 60-70%. Because whenever I'm giving out offers, I like to give 40 to 70% on the high end because at the end of the day, not everyone wants to sell at that 50% range. If I can work something out, hey, look, I could give you a higher price and I'll pay for the realtor commissions. I'll do all the work, the showings, listings, all that good stuff. I'll give you cash on the property and we make a small spread at the end. But like I told you, I don't overcomplicate anything. Like I just give a bunch of offers. My main goal is just to give a bunch of offers within the range from 40 to 70% on the high end and find who's interested. That's all.
Gotcha. So let's get tactical with like what your script or conversation potentially looks like whenever you're pitching a novation agreement, because it's challenging. Some novation agreements, like you're actually assuming like a power of attorney over these people to be able to make the decisions and list the property, different states, different, regulations and everything. How would you go about convincing a seller, hey, I'm going to go do all this work for you that a broker's doing a lot of the work, honestly. I'm going to take the spread, that's in between all these numbers. What's that conversation look like?
Yeah. The funny thing is, I usually don't say anything. I'll send the contract with the contingency that says I can list it on the MLS. If they question it and they come back to me and ask me, then I'll ask them, hey, look, you wanted the higher end of the offer. We can close quicker within 2 to 4 weeks if that's what you want, but we need to be at this price. So I always give them a cash offer, and then I'll pitch the second offer, which is the novation. And that's when I come to, hey, look, if you want the higher end, we're more than happy to give you that, but you need to give us more time. We need to be able to list this property to realtors, advertise it to our investors, developers in the area. We do all the showings. We do all the drone photos. We pay for the commissions. We do all the work. At the end of the day, you're going to walk away the same amount that we agreed to. That's how I go about it.
That's pretty simple. Now, when you say that some people don't even read it in the contract, have you had someone get upset and find that their property was listed, they didn't realize what the process looked like, and had any backlash there?
I haven't. I've been lucky.
Yeah. Okay. Well, interesting. So California and Arizona are the focus, rural recreational land. Let me back up. I have several things I want to ask, but how has that performed for you the last 12-ish months, basically from the end of 24 till now? Is there anywhere that really slowed down for you and you had to pivot? Have you stayed with the exact same areas? What is market specific? Tell us about that a bit.
Yeah, to be honest, California has so many counties. There's so much data that if I'm sending out, let's say 20,000 messages per month, I increased to 50,000 about 2 months ago. But within that time frame, I haven't even completed California. So I'm just working every single county. But if I see if a county performs for me, about 3 months later, I'll re-hit that county. I'll go from 10 years of ownership, drop it down to 5 years if it performs good again, but I'll hit it with different skip tracing. If it performs good again, then I'll go all the way down to 2 years. Because you never know. If they got the property inherited, title got changed, cool. Those people might be interested in selling too.
Makes sense. But what about just the sales side of things? I'm just curious because I don't know many people doing business in California. How has it been as far as being able to sell your lots? Has anywhere really slowed down? Like Mason and I have a lot. We funded in a market in Florida in 2023 that is still sitting. That market has just died. So have you, and that's an extreme example, but what have you seen? I'm just curious. Any markets that have really slowed where you're stuck with lots or vice versa?
100%. The thing I've noticed, especially in the market that we're working in right now, from what it was 3 years ago when I was in this industry, properties were flying. Listed on market, as long as you list at a good price, they're flying, regardless if it's infill or recreational. But I've noticed a lot of infill lots I've been buying recently have been a little bit slower. As long as if I list at a good price, they'll sell quick, but it's slower than I usually expect it to be compared to about comps showing about a year ago.
Yeah, I've had a similar experience where not all infill. There's still some places I'm doing business that are really hot, but mostly anything that a builder's going to buy has slowed down. And then those rural rec tracks that are, 50 to 100 grand, 30 to an hour outside of town, 5 to 20 acres. Those are still doing really well if they're unrestricted. I'm not sure if you're seeing the same thing.
Yeah, very, very, very similar, especially in the markets. I've noticed, especially in Arizona and California. So I do kind of want to pivot out of one of those states. I think I'm probably going to stick with California. Arizona, I'm probably going to pivot out once I complete all the counties there and move to a different one where there's a little bit more spread as well. Arizona, I've a lot of deals where $10K, it's nice, good deals, but I want to be getting deals that are netting me these $30K plus while I'm doing California. Those are pretty much netting me from range from $10K all the way to $40K.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, the middle America market's just crushing it. And it always will. It's like the most recession-proof, one of the more recession-proof asset classes that you can find and invest in. So, with the amount of outbound marketing and lead generation that you're doing, how are you managing that? Is it just you, or do you have a team?
Yeah, I have a team. So I have a partner and I have 2 VAs.
So walk me through the whole structure, because partners are interesting, right? Like Dan and I are, partner on different stuff, and we have a very similar skill set. Yeah. So let's walk through the partnership agreement, what that actually looks like, and then, the VAs and everything.
Yeah. So my partner, he's literally identical to me. We are very hardworking. We stay on top of everything. We're the same person. That's all. So we do everything 50-50. You get this done, I get this done. boom, we knock out everything. Our main goal right now, since we have VAs, is really scaling up our business to the point where we're just managing over them. So right now, the only thing that we're really doing is acquisitions. We're following up with sellers. We're talking to sellers on the phone and doing the transaction coordinating. That's pretty much it. But regarding just the smarter contact, texting people, we have a texter that texts people probably for about 6 hours. And then we have a full-time comper as well.
Okay, got it. And then who's managing the VAs? Is it you guys divided or is it just you?
Yeah, we're both just on top of them.
Okay.
As long as we notice something going on, we'll both be on top of them.
Okay. Nice. Well, I'm really loving like the simplicity of the approach because it puts you in this, bracket where you're able to really create a lifestyle business of like, I'm sure you're able to go out, have fun, and still, live a life outside of land, which is, what a lot of the goals are. But where do you see this going? Is it just continuing to cycle through these markets that you're comfortable in? Is it volume expansion? Is it deal size expansion? Where do you see yourself going in the next, 1 to 10 years?
Dude, that's a great question. Let's say first 3 years, my main goal right now is I'm going to see how the markets play out. I don't know if I'm going to stay in California, Arizona long term. Hopefully I do. But my main goal is to really scale out this business to the point where I'm making 7 figures doing it. Okay. My main goal is to hone in and lock in with my text messages. So to the point where I'm sending out at least 100,000 or more per month. I have everyone in place already. Transaction coordinator, acquisition manager, texters, compers. So I'm just the person managing. Okay. I just want to look over the operations instead of actually being in it. Okay. That's my main goal. But long term, I think I'm going to probably really focus on texting, move on to some mail as well. And then through time, I think I'm going to do some subdivides. I really want to do bigger deals like that where less volume, but bigger spreads, even though it's more long term. That's really my main goal.
Sure. Part of the business that Mason and I constantly kind of complain about is just you sell a property, you get a big hit, but when's the next property going to sell? You get clusters where a whole bunch of them sell in 1 month and then very few sell for a period of time. So are you doing or planning to do any term sales or just keeping it as is, selling for cash and or signing?
I don't know. I haven't even thought about it. How's that experience been for you guys?
It's great. It's something I'm doing a lot more of. I've gotten some mentors myself who are miles ahead of me that have done that at scale, and I see what they've built and the bankability it creates, and just having such a big base of revenue can put you in a position to think much longer term, make bigger acquisitions, bigger and better acquisitions. So yeah, that's something I'm doing pretty aggressively, and it's gone quite well so far.
I might have to keep that in mind there because, like you just said, always going on hunt for a deal, it's annoying, it's stressful. You want that money coming in while you're not doing nothing.
Yeah, especially when it's these longer amortizations that are 10 plus years. I'm even doing 20-year AMs. That's really nice, especially high interest rates. Those are very profitable. So that's something I'm doing more of. So I was curious if that is something that crossed your mind.
I'd most definitely, probably, bro. I'm be honest with you, doing this long term, something like that sounds nice. I can have something printing me money on the side where I'm getting money from my business, but while something else is making me money on the side as well while doing nothing, that sounds nice.
Yeah. Well, continuing the conversation about what you're working towards, what are your biggest bottlenecks? Why don't you just start sending 50 or 100,000 texts next month? Where are your constraints?
Yeah, it's time. I only have so much time in a day. So sending out 50,000, I feel like I'm doing pretty well with one texter, one comper, and with my partner. But sometimes I see myself that I'm actually going in smarter contact and having to pick up some slack. So my main goal, I wouldn't even want to jump to 100,000 right now because I don't want myself in smarter contact at all, texting anyone. My main goal is to get people in there where I'm probably going to get to about 2 compers, 1 texter. That should knock out my 50,000. From there, if I see, okay, I'm doing good there, I'm going to double it, hire 2 more compers. I need something that makes sense where I don't want to have leaking holes in my business where I'm missing out on deals because I'm trying to over leverage myself, sending out way more messages than I can even handle.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Talk to us about your hiring process and the system that you're putting these VAs in, because hiring is difficult, but hiring overseas, where there's a language barrier, that's even more difficult. And so what does your screening look like to hire these people? Are you using personality tests? What are you doing to screen them and get competent people that can actually do, a higher competency sort of task, not just simple clerical work?
To be honest with you, I don't think I'm the greatest guy when it comes down to hiring. I just started, so I'm still a rookie to this. But I feel like I have two really, really good hires that I got lucky with. I've got one, the comper that came in when I interviewed her. She used to work with another company, Ryan Loader's company. I don't know if you know him. And she was doing comping for over 3 years. She knew how everything works. She was great off rip. So I was good. I just had to teach her the little things that we do in our business. And my texter used to work with someone else. You might know him too, Clay Hepler, and he trained him everything. And it was so much easier when he came in my business. He knew everything what to do. I just had to teach him the little key opponents, what to do in the messages, how to respond to sellers, all that good stuff.
And do you have weekly, daily scorecards? How do you hold them accountable? You talked about avoiding any leaks in your business, right? So how do you keep your eye on that without micromanaging them?
Yeah, so my comper, I have something set up in Smarter Contact. So she needs to be comping at least around 40 people, giving out 40 offers per day, because I got to do it based on how I can see it. So let's say every 10 minutes, she can at least get one offer out. Okay. It takes time to go comp the property, all that. So we have a checklist, explain how many offers she gave, how many disqualified, how many offers that she couldn't give out. And we go based off of that. But texting, nothing really crazy with that guy. He just makes sure there's no unreads left. All the replies on by the end.
Awesome. No, I mean, you're building a system here where you can see you've got competent people that hopefully can train other competent people as you start to grow and expand and do more volume, which is really exciting. But we've talked a lot about the operations and kind of how you manage everything, a lot of the successes you've had. But have you failed in this business yet? Have you had deals that have gone wrong, whether you've lost money or, it just was like a big waste of time and very stressful at this point?
Yeah. My key thing this year or last year that I learned, do not force deals. I've already been in this industry for 3 years and I still make that mistake sometimes. I'm like, okay, yeah, there's like a 15K spread. Maybe I can work it, but it seems kind of tight. It might be a 10K spread. Let me just buy it and see. And it never works out like that. Okay. Because then it ends up price drops. No buyers come in. So my main thing this year is I've noticed the market slowed down a little bit compared to how it was before. I got to get deals under contract at more of a discounted price, or I got to be more aggressive on the buy end, listing that instead of at 100%, more around 90%. Okay. But when it comes to bad deals, I probably had some deals that are listed on market for 6 months. Actually, they're actually going through escrow right now. They're closing. I'm so glad to get them out of the way, get my money back. And I think one deal netted me $40, but I didn't lose money.
There we go. Break even is always okay. But with those deals, so was it kind of sounds like you had like maybe these fixed metrics in mind whenever you're underwriting of like, it's either this much profit or, this is what my margin needs to be or percent return on investment. And you started fudging the numbers of your pro forma to be like, no, like I haven't maybe gotten a deal in a while. Like this one, maybe it's this, what led you to straying away from what had worked historically for your last dozens or hundreds of deals that caused those issues on those ones specifically?
Well, it's nothing really complicated. It just comes down to price. So if I notice that properties over here are selling for 25K within the last year, and I see properties listed on market for 25K, I'm going to assume it's going to sell for 20K now. Okay. I'm just trying to be more aggressive on the front end. That's all. The spreads, I don't really overcomplicate the business. I'm telling you, I keep this thing as simple as possible. As simple as possible, you could think. It seems like you guys are very analytical and all this, very precise with every little thing. I'm really not like that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I keep everything as simple as possible. So if I see that I'm in at a 50% margin or less, great. I'm gonna buy the deal, and I know it's gonna sell quick based on realtor comps, them telling me what they're gonna think resale is for something quick within a month, or based on what I see as well. That's what I'm picking it up for. But if I see anything higher than that, I'm gonna novate the deal because I don't want to risk my money or other funders' money either.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it makes sense. And like that is an approach. Like, you're making great money, which is fantastic. So let's maybe dive deep into the last deal that closed, whether, on the sales side, January 8th, 2026, as we're recording this. What did you sell last? And how did it come into your pipeline? What did you acquire it for? What did you sell it for? Conversations with the seller, kind of the whole story of it.
This is actually a great one. I literally just closed one yesterday. I got it under contract for $85,000. I listed it for $160. In a month and 20 days, I got a buyer for $130. And the crazy thing about this property, when I first got it under contract, I got it under contract for $160,000. And apparently, where the exact location of where that lot was at, it was very expensive to pull electricity, to get water to the property. And I didn't know that. Okay. And I realized it when I took a second look, because comps in the area, literally a street over, selling for $320,000 easily. So I was like, great, I'm in that 50%. But this one was on a main highway, where to the point, I guess, based on the speed limit, that it was more difficult to build a home there. They may not allow it. And I was like, are you serious? I thought I had a great deal. I had a monster deal. I'm already celebrating. And then I speak to a realtor and I find that out. But I thought the first realtor just didn't know what he was talking about. So I went to another one. They all said the same thing. I was like, are you serious? So went back to the seller. I had to explain all that. I offered him $75,000. What is that? $90,000 price reduction. I was a little nervous to do it. I was like, damn, I don't know if he's going to take it, but cool. You got to do what you got to do in business. You have to do it. If you don't do it, you never know the answer. So I asked him and I explained everything to him, how there was actually a new development right next to it that got built, but it cost hundreds of thousands to get everything pulled. I'm going to be honest with you. We either cancel the contract. I need to be at $75,000. And I guess he already understood that. He knew that. He was surprised why I offered him $160. And then I came back and said, look, we do 75. He's like, no, the best is do 100. And I was like, look, 85 down the middle. Let's call it a day. He was like, cool, let's do a deal. And it worked out. So after that, I made about $5,000 on the deal.
Excellent. Sounds like a deceleration lane was probably needed, because to have a driveway, that often is the problem with lots on highways. But that really shows the importance of local brokers. I have so many deals that on both sides I wouldn't have done if I didn't have the local to explain why it was more valuable, and vice versa. Just like that, I've had plenty of properties I thought were more valuable, and the local expert kind of corrected my assumptions. So that's a big takeaway from that. But Chris, you mentioned, of course, the novations, but then you also mentioned getting your cash back on that one. You made $40. So how are most of the ones that you're actually closing being funded? Is it just your money, lines of credit, funders? What does that look like?
Yeah. Most of the time it's probably about 40% me. The other 60% is with funders. And I have capital where I'll get only 50% they'll take of any deal I do.
Okay. That's not so bad. Where did you find your funders?
Well, I got a lot of family capital, so it makes it easy.
That helps. Yeah. I mean, use the resources you have. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But okay. So last year, 2025, again, it's the beginning of 26, you had a series on your Instagram, The Road to Flipping Land, 500K, and you didn't quite hit it, but you made pretty darn close to it in the 400s. What's the goal this year?
I'd say, of course, I want to say $1 million, but I don't think my systems are in place for it yet. So I'd say minimum at least $750,000.
Okay. Yeah. That's exciting. And that's just going to be texting, or you're going to start some mail this year?
Pure texting. I'd say by the 6th month, if I'm really in place, I get to the point where I'm sending out 6 figures and messages, and I have my team in place, I'll probably start sprinkling some out.
Okay. Got it. And I did see on your Instagram as well a number of deals outside of Arizona and California. Were you marketing elsewhere and just decided to focus, or were those just one-offs, or where did those come from?
All those deals from the year prior that were still in my CRM from doing mail for recreational. So I was literally mailing anything as long as I knew the pricing was homogenous. When I was attacking it with mail, then I would attack the area. So I was all over Virginia, West Virginia, Louisiana, Hawaii, you name it. I was everywhere.
Awesome. Yeah, that stresses me out thinking about being in that many places. But you've won, you've consolidated. It's something we kind of all go through of, you start with like a really great thing that works well. And then you kind of run out of deals and you start casting a wider net and wider net and wider net. And then you're like, oh shit, like I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I need to, narrow the scope again. But Chris, I feel like we've really kind of you did a great job narrowing the scope of our conversation to a business that you've built very simply that works very, very effectively. I mean, putting you at $500,000 a year makes you one of the top earners in the country, which is really, really exciting, especially at your age. But what questions about business did we not ask you that we should have asked you during this show?
I don't know, man. I thought you guys covered everything. You guys are good at this.
We've done it once or twice, but Chris, we appreciate you coming on the show. Where can people find out more about you to follow along with what you've got going on?
Chris Flips Land on Instagram and TikTok. You guys can follow my journey there.
There we go. Sweet. Any last words of wisdom to beginners that are maybe a couple deals into land, or people that are looking to get started, or even some of the seasoned veterans out there that are listening?
Yeah. For beginners, don't have analysis paralysis. That's what I did when I first started. It took me probably about 4 months of actually educating myself to actually take action, because I was scared, even though I already kind of knew what to do. Just once you get proper education, either from someone else, YouTube, whatever you suggest, whatever you want to do, take action as quick as possible. What I like to tell everyone, all you can do is control your inputs, okay? If you plan on sending out a certain amount of marketing every month, you better hit that goal every month. You talk to the sellers, you get on the phones, make sure you stay on top of everything. All you can control what you can do. You can't control what the sellers, if they sign the contract, if they pick up the phone, you can't control any of that. So control what you do. Eventually, God will bless you, and he's going to reward you for you putting in the work, okay? And the thing about business, there's always highs and lows. My first 3 months of my series, I made nothing, $0. But I had so many deals that are converting, going through escrow, all that, closing, all that good stuff. Then you guys seen all the money come in. Business is not quick. I know social media likes to perceive the idea you're going to make money overnight. It's not like that, okay? You really, really got to build up that pipeline, stay consistent, and eventually business will hit. But there's highs and lows in business. If you stick through the lows, you will be very successful.
Yeah, those are two excellent points. I would rewind and listen to the last 90 seconds again, because that is true really for any goals you want to accomplish. There's always a lead and a lag, and you can focus on the lead, and then the lag will come. But anyways, Chris, thanks for coming on. This was fun. But until next time, guys, this is Dan Haberkost, Mason McDonald with Chris Ramirez on the Big Picture Blueprint, signing off.